and thank you for listening to this special edition of the 32081. I'm Todd, and I am excited to be hosting this episode because we're going to have Coach Collin Drafts from the Nease Panthers on to talk about Panthers football, as well as some of the great camps that they're going to be running during the summer for the youth in the area. And also, we're going to have Coach and Commissioner Shannon Phifer on to talk about the middle school jamboree coming up and middle school football in general. All right, so on the phone with us right now, we have Coach Drafts, the head coach of the Nease High School Panthers football team. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing wonderful. Really appreciate you having me on as well.
Oh, we appreciate you making the time just to get out there and tell the community about the Panther football, because we really hope we can be part of just packing this stadium every Friday night.
No doubt. We're looking forward to it as well.
You know, because, I mean, really, if families are planning their dinners, the one night they don't have to cook at home is Friday night. They better be, at Nease football. I don't care. Buy a hamburger, hot dog, whatever, watch a great game, go out there afterwards. I don't care. But be at Nease. Be at Nease for a home football game. So first of all, Coach, let me, and I apologize for the background noise. My neighbors decided to mow their yard at the same time I'm recording this.
No problem.
But you just got done with the green and gold game. This Friday, we're going to have the spring game against Ed White, which I hope everybody from Palencia to Nocatee is going to be out there.
Definitely.
How do you and the staff feel coming off a very successful season last year and seeing the players where they are now in the offseason with the green and gold?
Yeah, I mean, definitely optimistic, very excited, but at the same time, a lot of room to grow. You hit the nail on the head. We had a very, successful season last year. We had such a strong senior class. 36 seniors last year, and they were the ones that were able. It is, right? They were the ones that were able to kind of, turn the tide and put Nease back on the map and had the year that we had because of them. And then, like every year, those guys graduated, and it's time to reload. So there's some new faces out there. They've been working extremely hard, but at the same time, familiar faces as well. Obviously, guys like Marcus Stokes coming back on offense. Really offensively, we were pretty much intact, minus a couple of guys that graduated, but a brand new defense. 10 new starters on defense, with 10 of those guys graduating. Sterling Grimes being the only lone returning starter back. New defensive coordinator. It's just a lot of newness, but we've been hammering away at it since January. Kids have been working hard in the weight room, and we've been working on our installation of the new defense, and now we're 3 weeks in a green and gold inter squad game scrimmage and now we see where we're at, what we have to correct before Friday night, before Ed White comes into town. But we feel really good about it.
Coach, one thing about your philosophy that I learned from you that's very interesting is that when I was growing up playing baseball, you stayed with your same team. You kind of moved up.
Right.
You played younger. You took your beating. Then you were really good, but you stayed together. And I still have a ton of my friends that I played Little League Baseball with because that's what we did back then. And nowadays people are switching teams. Your philosophy I find very interesting with the ninth grade, and a lot of people don't know this, but like the ninth grade rising freshmen, so to speak, when they come in, you want them to play together and learn how to, be a team and a family. And it really kind of shows that it's paying off now when you look at how your team has, everyone says trust the process. There's no doubt that there's some type of process here that's working for you. And do you think that's a real key element to these boys starting off together in ninth grade?
I do. And I think that's unique too, in the sense that I'm not sure that the other schools that have the numbers that we have do it that way. I just think it's extremely important that when freshmen come in, one, there's obviously a big learning curve there, making the jump from middle school football to high school football. So I think keeping those guys, intact, practicing together, lifting weights together, learning our culture, learning our process together, when they look across, the field of the weight room and there's 50 or so other guys that are, wearing that blank white t-shirt and they're in ninth grade, kind of taking it all in just like they are themselves, that offers a level of, comfort, if you want to call it that, togetherness. And so they learn that very early on. And we give those guys, room to make mistakes and learn the process and just get acclimated to high school and high school football. But none of that can be done either, though, without a very good freshman coaching staff. I know you've talked with Coach Phifer. Mm-hmm. You've had him on before, but we're just not turning those freshmen over to anybody. I put a major emphasis on the quality of coaches that we're putting down at that level. Any one of those coaches could coach varsity football for us without a doubt. But in putting the emphasis and putting the premium on the freshmen when they come in, it pays huge dividends for us down the road within our program. obviously going into year 4 now, and all of our seniors played freshman football my first year. Marcus Stokes, Sam Milton, Sterling Grimes, Peyton Pender. They were all, young kids, and now here they are, as rising seniors and part of the team that, last year that won 9 games, went to the third round of the playoffs. They were able to do that because of what they learned, in my opinion, their first year at Nease.
This has got to be a special year for you then, seeing those graduating seniors.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's one thing that's going to be really special. We've got right at 24, 25 seniors right now. And of course, some of those guys in that group maybe came out late after their freshman year, or you got a transfer or move in here or there. But 75 to 85, percent of those kids came in as freshmen, and they've gone through year 1, year 2, year 3, and now going into year 4 of the program. They know the expectations. They know the culture. They know, what we expected them from coaches and how to produce. And we're really looking forward to them, having a great senior year.
So hopefully we'll have you on later in the fall and talk more about the X's and O's. But the one thing, before we get into the community stuff, I got to say that this team is fun to watch. And I think also one thing that people might not realize is that when they go to a Nease football game, and they are going to go after they listen to the show, they're going to go watch these kids. Right. It's amazing how many colleges you have coming out and now looking at these football players that this community could see these boys and are going to see these boys on the college football field playing on a Saturday. And that's going to be something special for the entire Nocatee, Palencia type of area that's really going to be supporting the Nease football program.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the things that is important to us. Yes, we want to go out, we want to compete, and we want to win football games. That's obviously at the top of the list. But, equally as important, to that is developing these young men to go off and play college football if that's what they want to do. And we were lucky enough, out of those 36 seniors from last year, every single one of them that wanted to have the opportunity, we're at almost 12 right now, are all going off to play college football. And really at some of the top schools, in the country. We had an All-American punter last year who's up at Coastal Carolina. Evan Crenshaw, Grant Stevens is already at UCF. Dom Henry going all the way out to BYU. So again, it goes back to that senior class that put the work in for those 3 years and won football games. So now we get to watch them go off and do exceptional things on Saturdays, get to watch them on national TV. And I wouldn't be surprised if one or even more of those young men end up having the opportunity to play on Sundays when their college career is over.
So let's talk about the atmosphere. When I went out to watch a couple games last year, and I went to my first one, your very first game,
right?
I got to tell you, I was like, wow. You want to talk about a loud fan base. They were pumped up. What's it like for you with your history and stuff to go out now and you hear that crowd go crazy for these young men? They're out there on the field. I mean, this has definitely got to be a home field advantage for you.
Oh, no doubt. I've been coaching high school football going on 14 or 15 years now this fall. I'm losing track already, but and I've been at numerous different schools in the state of Florida, in South Carolina, where I'm from. Nease by far has the best home atmosphere that I've ever seen. And that's one thing that I think is special about Nease and the surrounding communities, Palencia, Nocatee, even the other, various communities that we sometimes pull kids from. Everybody knows that coming to a home football game on Ray Road is a big deal. The crowds are loud. The games are electric. The student section's amazing. The band is great. It's kind of what you picture and what you really want to be a part of as a high school football coach, as a high school football player, and even a student or just a fan in the area. It definitely has that Friday Night Lights feel to it, and that definitely makes it special.
So the point also I want to drive home with the community here is that these players, so I didn't tell you this before the show, but I think it was last Friday. I had to go do some video work for Principal Riedel over at PIA, and I didn't know the players are going to be there. And I pulled up, and I get on, I walk, and I got to tell you, Coach, you see some players, high school players that do this, and they're kind of like high-fiving and whatever. Your boys were pumped up. I mean, they had the kids getting off the buses smiling from ear to ear. They were high-five. They were joking with the teachers. They were, the vibe they gave the community and that school was amazing. I know they did it over at PVA too. It seems like your boys are just, they get it. They get about the kids. They get it about the teachers. And here's another funny story before you comment on that. is that they started to walk away because Miss Riedel wanted a picture with them. And she's like, they can't get out through the playground. Where are they going? They can't get out that way. And it turned out it was a kindergarten class that called them into their room so they could get a group picture with the kindergartners, and you could hear the kindergartners going, "Go Panthers!" I just think that's so cool. It's like your kids have really embraced the community, and I'm really hoping the community embraces them back because they are a very great group of boys.
Right.
Young men, sorry.
That. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. I could sit here and talk about how awesome those guys are all day long. Obviously we work these guys hard, right? We're working in the weight room year round. We're coaching them and training them tough on the football field and trying to get them prepared to play at a very high level. And it is a high level. We're talking about 7A football in the state of Florida, and arguably one of the best states in the country for high school football. So there's a lot of work that goes into that, but there's equally a lot of work that goes into the off the field stuff. What is their character? How are they treating other people? How are their grades, how are their academics? And so it's easy to kind of get lost on, man, we have to do all these things to go out and win football games. But to me, that's what, makes being a high school football coach so special, because it's the purest form of football that's left. You look at the NFL, it's all about, it's pro ball. It's a business. Guys are making money. It is what it is. College has quickly turned into that with NIL and transfer portal. So we're really holding on to the last, just pure form of football and, character development and all these things that really matter. That's what I love about it. And we have such awesome kids that really walk in the door already, being upstanding young men, and we just get to continue to grow them and help them mature and see and understand what's really important. So for them to get out in the community with the surrounding academies and be a part of that, and doing the camps that we have going on, and really invest back into where they came from, is really neat for them, and it's neat for us to see as high school coaches.
So now Friday night you take on Ed White, and what people probably don't realize is that that's probably just the start of a marathon football weekend for you at Nease, because then you turn around and you host the middle school jamboree, which the football commissioner is your one and only Coach Shannon Phifer, does a great job with that. The one thing I wanted to ask you about is that these, and I kind of, as you know, Coach Phifer is going to also be on the show talking about that. And the one thing I mentioned to him was that when these middle school boys get done with the jamboree, they're kind of like, they're at this high. They're just excited. They're like, wow, I was out there. Their first game is going to be at Nease. They're going to be pumped up. Oh, it's over. But it's really not, because the reason why I wanted to drive home the stuff about the community, you've got camps coming up in the summer. These camps have got to be awesome for them. And I know you've got 2 sessions and they can go to both, but would you like to talk a little bit about those camps?
Yeah, for sure. It's something that we started, I believe, 2 years ago, which was really I think it was my first summer after COVID. I think we were able to pull it off. But regardless, we call it the Green and Gold Youth Camp, and it's an opportunity for anybody that's going into the 8th grade or younger. So they could be, like I said, they can be in the 8th grade, or they can be any age below that. I don't cap it. I mean, we've had kids that are out there 5 and 6 years old, running around, going through the bags, learning the fundamentals of the game. And it's a lot of fun, because you talk about the purest form of football. Those kids are out there just to have fun. They're a lot of times they're watching the birds and the planes fly by, and you have to snap them back in and get their attention. But the neat part about it is we get our players out there to coach those guys up, and again, invest back in the community. So there's definitely opportunity there. And for those older kids that do come, you're talking about the middle school kids, we get after them and we train them, and we try to introduce them to high level concepts and get them prepared to play high school football, because before they know it, those middle school years are going to be up. And regardless of what school they end up going to, it's going to be, big boy football, and they're going to have to be prepared. And so I love putting on those camps over the summertime. It's something that we always look forward to.
Well, Coach, I want to say thank you, because, like what a lot of people don't realize also is that you tend to pop up all over the community. I've seen you at middle school football games, at jamborees, at, anything and everything. So we do appreciate everything you do. We wish you the best of luck on Friday night and bringing home a win against Ed White. And again, I'll get more information about the camps. I think they're fantastic. We appreciate you putting those on. And hopefully we can have you on to talk about a fantastic season in the fall.
I'd love to do it. I really appreciate you having me on, and looking forward to hopefully seeing everybody out there Friday night. Panthers will be at home. 7 p.m. kickoff versus Ed White, and we'll be hunting a Panther victory like we talked about.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Take care. Thank you.
So on the line right now, we have Commissioner, Coach, Dad, husband, Shannon Phifer on the 32081 with us. How you doing, Commish?
I'm doing well.
So I'm calling you Commissioner because you wear so many different hats. But today we're specifically going to talk about the Jamboree, so I'll call you Commissioner Phifer if that's okay with you, or the commish for short. The commish for short.
There we go. That's good.
So let me ask you. So first of all, I want to give a shout out to Bowles last year for hosting the Jamboree, but I want to ask you from a commissioner standpoint. I'm excited. I'm a homer. I'm excited to have it back at Nease in the backyard because while Bowles was great and they were great hosts, it was a little bit far away for people to go see. Now people are 10, 15 minutes away from Nease. They can go watch their middle school, football team play in the Jamboree coming up this Saturday on the 21st. How is that for you as a commissioner? Are you excited to have it back in our own backyard?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's, having it at Nease is, it's nice. I won't say that's is from a commissioner role, I have to look at it from the whole county's perspective. And, so I'll start with that by saying, it's going to rotate every year. Just the first year, I just felt that it was, just best to have it at Nease.
Right.
Especially with my involvement and just being able to set it up because, this is kind of new. We're making progress with the high schools. They've agreed to host 3 to 4 games of each stadium this year, which is huge for the whole St. Johns County Middle School Association football. So as far as just an overall for all of St. John's, I think that's a really good thing. So I kind of want to start there and not make it well, he's a Nease guy and that's why it's at Nease. It was easy for me to work that deal out with Coach Gomes and Coach Drafts. They were very eager to have it, but yeah, just as far as from a guy who coaches at Nease, I mean, it's going to be a great environment. It's kind of like, hey, we're home. It's going to be easy for all of our families to get there, not just for, your Valley Ridge or your Pine Island, your Palm Valley, but even for everyone. Like you said earlier, it's just a closer venue and Nease has a historic program in the past and building it back now.
But I think it's like you said, it's interesting. And I wasn't even taking the angle of Nease. Just having it back in St. Johns County seems fun because, especially for the kids, they're going to be playing at these high schools sometimes. And I didn't realize you were going to have 3 games because I remember when we played VR and PVA, we played at Nease, and the kids just loved it because, the majority of them were going to end up there. So it's not even great for just the fans having a close proximity to go out and watch these teams, but also for the kids to be able to be like, wow, I could be here one day. I could be playing on these fields.
Yes, and that is the main reason to have it at these high schools now. And that's been the push over the last few years is to get these games in the middle schools, for the middle schools at these high school venues. And I think the high school ADs, the high school coaches have seen the benefit of what's happened in the past. This is a good thing because, in a lot of states, I'm originally from Alabama, coached in Alabama, coached in Texas. That's where you play. Your middle school plays at your high school. And it is a great way to get people playing because there is a excitement that you just can't create playing at other places that you probably may never play.
And the other thing too is that from a fan perspective, obviously the middle school games are on Wednesday. They're, early evenings, so sometimes not everybody can make them. What I like about the Jamboree schedule, especially on a Saturday, is that if you're one of those parents that might not be able to make, even just to support your team, even if you don't have a player or a cheerleader out there, this is a great time to go out and watch, what the coaches are doing, what the players are doing, especially if, you've got a new team like Pine Island, and I know other schools have been there before, like VRA and PVA and stuff, building the programs. But it's a really good opportunity for parents and family and friends to go out and watch on a Saturday and really see what these kids are doing and putting together and the product that's going to be on the field.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it should be a great day. We're just praying we have great weather. But, I mean, you're talking about 14 teams, 7 games starting at 8 o'clock in the morning.
That's a lot of football.
It's a lot of football. So even if you only made it for 2 games or 4 games, whatever it is, I mean, just come, enjoy, have a good day. If you love football and you love the football in this area, or if you just want to see what's coming down the pipeline, I mean, this gives you a great chance. Or if you have kids that, are in the third grade right now, this kind of gives you a glimpse into the future to see, okay, this is where we're zoned and this is where we're going to play, or, this is the middle school we're going to play for. You already kind of get a look at, instead of, like you said, maybe you can't make it during the season, but this should be a great day.
Now, if you could put your coach's hat on for me. So I was talking to some new parents that are new to football. They've got kids that are starting out on, a new team. And could you explain from a coach's perspective, the Jamboree is a little bit different. Well, it's a lot different than the regular season. But could you explain from a coach's perspective how you use the Jamboree? I mean, everyone wants to win, but really in this stage, you're kind of looking at what you're able to put together quickly over the spring and how it helps the coaches really kind of evaluate and see where they are going into the fall, making a game plan for when the fall hits and they're getting ready for the regular season.
So the spring season in general is really interesting for middle school because every year you start with kids who have never played football. And I'll just take Valley Ridge, for instance, because that's, the team I coach and know the best.
Uh-huh.
We don't have many returning players at all. I think we returned one starter on defense and 3 on offense. And that's a lot to replace. And so most of the kids that we have never played football before. And I think, and there's a lot of programs probably have that. But the spring, what is so important about spring is it's a mini season that you develop so quickly in, because you have to develop quickly. It's not like, well, we're just going to have that kid, like we're going to bring him along as the fall goes and maybe at the end of the season you get to play. We're trying to get every kid ready to participate in the spring, because it's not everybody wants to win. And you have coaches say, well, I'm not concerned about winning. Everybody wants to win. No one wants to lose, but you want every kid to play if they can, if they're physically ready to. And I think that's the key. You got some kids that they're just maybe not ready, but it's a different grind because it's fast paced. I mean, you're having to get a lot in quickly. And then the game itself is a lot of fun because then again, we go back to that whole, they've never played football. They don't even know they don't know what to experience. They don't know the sounds that's really out there because it's the first time being on the sidelines. Just that whole dynamic is, you look at a kid that's never played and you just see that look in their eye, and it's excitement, it's fear, it's a little bit of everything. And it's so great. And then when you put them in the game, they're like, it's even more overwhelming, and the feelings that you can just see on their face. So that for me as a coach, I love that. And we're able to tell a lot. I mean, we got kids that last week in practice that were really almost cut. Now it's like, hey, this kid might actually be a player. So as a coach, you got to really dive into spring and really look at kids and watch their demeanor and watch how they act, because that to me is more telling than maybe what they're doing on the football field and what they're going to be later on. So I pride, that it makes me prideful when I see a kid like that. But as the game itself, the Jamboree, for people to understand. So, kicking will not be live. Field goals we will actually attempt them, but they won't be live. There'll be no punting, be no kickoffs. So we kind of take that out of it.
And the refs are a little bit more lax too. I was telling some parents that the other day. I was like, they're a little bit lax because there's a lot of kids that haven't played football and this is their first time out there. And we could throw a flag probably on every play. So that's something else I want to mention too.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're exactly right. They're going to hopefully be a little lax on the holding, and because, there's holding. It's just the new football league that's going on right now in Birmingham. Not sure, AFL or
the USFL. The USFL, right?
USFL, yes. I was just watching in the weather delay earlier today about how they're trying not to call as many holding calls, just to make the game a little, if they don't twist the defensive linemen. So sure, hopefully they'll be looking for some of that and, call the ones they need to call, but let some of the other ones go. And they help the kids kind of get lined up. But for the most part, I think as a coach, we got to have them ready to go. And it's a real football game, and it'll be a lot of fun. And if you really want to see just a lot of kids play football, and I think it'd be a great day.
Now the other thing too, you just kind of think, you made me think of something. these kids are really excited. You're right. They're going to have the excitement, the fear. They're going to, they're going to play in the full. They're going to play in the game. They're going to hear the stadium going crazy. They're going to come off the field and be like, "Yeah, I'm ready to go." And then spring season's over. But the one thing I want to say about that and kind of get your input on is that there's, in St. Johns County alone, our high schools, and you're saying about partnering with them, they do our football programs do a really good job with the youth, like with the youth programs over the summer. And I always thought that maybe when your kid is fired up and they come off and you see them love the game, look at these camps at the different high schools, Nease, Ponte Vedra, Creekside. They all have their own camps. Get your kid involved in it, keep their excitement up, so then they still have that and they're in shape and they're ready to go for the fall. Would you agree with that?
100%. We were talking about that actually last night. We were talking about, wow, we're one more week and, spring's over. Okay, well, spring is over, and we try to tell our guys all the time, hey, go to camps, go to these local high school camps, just get out there and keep getting better, and because that excitement is what pushes the kids. And that's a great point. Coming out of spring, you have this momentum. Whether you win or lose, you still should have momentum going. Like, and then when they come back in the fall, they're a different kid, and they're even more prepared. But it's what happens in spring that really catapults them to the fall season. And it's a great point of saying these camps. I mean, these camps are there to help build them even further. And they get to know the coaching staff of the high schools that they're potentially going to play for. And I can tell you the high school coaches love these camps. It's a lot of work for the high school coaches, but they love it. And they want to put the work in. And they love seeing these new guys in the 6th, 7th, 8th, even 3rd grade. I mean, we love seeing that.
What's funny is that when my son went to the the various camps and stuff, and I'm not sure how your son was, but when my son went, it was funny. They go out there, they hustle, they're doing all this work and stuff. They they come off the field, they're tired. They can't wait to go back the next day. I mean, the coaches and I think also the thing that really helps is that they have their own players there from high school with these kids, and these kids are just so excited to be out there, and they do a fantastic job at their camp. So I highly recommend them to anybody out there.
Yeah, they definitely come off excited. I think it's the being around kids that you necessarily not around. So, I believe anyone who plays sports, for the most part, I'd say 90% of kids who play sport have a certain, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but there's a certain something to them. Like they don't like to not finish first. They have this desire to be the best. I think that's why they love these camps. They love to get out there. They have this deep down, they want to compete, and it gives them a chance to compete around someone new. And it's another level of excitement. I like using that word because that's the best way I can describe what I see with kids that do well and excel is excitement. They want it. And if you want it, then you're going to want to do well at a camp. You're going to want to come back to that camp because you're learning and you're competing. And I think competing is what really accelerates what happens on the field for them.
You've got some great coaches in the middle school, and they're part. You see them out there coaching, you see them driving the kids. They do a fantastic job, and I can tell you that from my experience the last couple of years in middle school football, all the coaches care about the kids. They do a great job, and it's just a great experience at SJMSAA overall for anyone that wants to get involved in middle school football. And they should come out into the Jamboree on the 21st and watch some great football all day long. You could get Dunkin' Donuts, go visit, watch some football in the morning, and then, hey, watch the last game and go over, have some dinner. So there you go. So ticket prices are so ticket prices, Commissioner, are going to be $8. Is that correct? It's $8 for the day.
Yep.
And it's going to be
all day.
And it's going to be through Nease. So I guess the best thing is to tell people to look out through their schools and their football teams to kind of find the link to buy tickets online for the day. Would that be a safe
assumption? Yes, and they will be selling at the gate also. So if you don't get it, I think it'll be through a GoFan, but they will be taking cash at the gate.
And then if anyone wants to watch their team, obviously they can look at the SJMSAA Facebook page as well as probably their own football team to find out what the schedule is and when they play and go out there and support them at Nease.
Yes, correct, yes.
Well, Commissioner Phifer, thank you for being on the show. I know that you and I have talked about some fun things that we might be able to do in the fall with scoreboard shows and stuff, so I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully we can get that kicked off. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for everything you do for the youth and for the football. And I think it's going to be a fantastic day of football coming up on the 21st.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for getting the word out and supporting the community, really supporting the football like you do. It means a lot. This is going in the third year that I've been a part of your podcast. So I'm really excited about some of the stuff upcoming in the season, and maybe we can get into that at another time and really maybe get that out there, because I think that's going to be some exciting stuff also.
Awesome. Well, you have a great night, and thank you for joining us, Coach.
All right. Thank you.
And thank you for listening to the 32081. This special edition was great, and I would like to thank Coach Drafts for joining us again, as well as Coach Phifer, the commissioner. And we hope to see you guys out there Friday night, 7 p.m. at Nease, when the Panthers take on the Commanders of Ed White. Let's cheer them on. Let's get this stadium packed. And then also, can't wait to see you out there on Saturday supporting the middle school football teams. It's going to be a great time with the Jamboree. Again, everyone, have a great day, have a great week, and we will catch you next time on the 32081.